Hey everyone, and welcome to the Clearly Podcast, Episode 5, Branding, with Shailen Chudasama, Tom Goff, and myself, Andy Clark. In this episode, we talk about the importance of applying branding, logos, and color schemes to your Power BI reports. So, Shailen, I'm going to ask you to kick this one off. And, what do you mean by branding?
Whoop, whoop, branding. Wow. It's important. It's exciting. It's important, branding. It's your corporate identity. We have seen, reports or dashboards. It's similar to if someone creates a PowerPoint presentation, they don't leave the standard theme. They normally apply their theme. And that's why they have a corporate brand behind it. They want their logo, they want their corporate colors, and it's representing their corporate identity or their image. That's kind of what we mean by branding. Imagine you've developed a few reports now, and you've got a few, let's say, a few dashboards, a few reports, and you're going to present it. If you present it, and I've done this so many times now, and as like a first presentation, where you're presenting something you've quickly mocked up, but with their corporate colors, with their corporate identity, maybe just throw their logo in somewhere, and it all looks kind of uniform on the screen. They kind of interact with it more because they see it as a report or a dashboard that's published for them by their entity. That's what they kind of see. That's my personal experience.
It makes that initial acceptance of what you're showing far quicker because they see something they recognize. Certain comfort and relaxation to that.
Yeah, and I would agree that's true. And I mean, I'm talking as the one out of the three of us who is the person who would just leave the standard PowerPoint template on. Um, just so everyone can gauge where we actually sit in this.
So, Shailen, how do you start to go about branding Power BI in line with a customer's corporate colors or logo or whatever?
Once you create the first few charts, you'll quickly realize that you've got the default theme on. And so it uses a standard color palette, the first one, the default one that Power BI uses. But one of the first things I would do is, not even touching the colors there, it's throw the logo in. Get the logo in and then decide where. If they have a corporate guide, get the corporate guide because then you'll know the position of things like the logo. But one of the first things I would do is just import an image. That would be a starting point, and import their logo. Power BI uses hex. So what we do there is get your corporate colors and create a new theme file. So the first thing you'd do is you go and you'd export one. You take your hex codes and you put in your hex codes. It's the first 8, by the way, because black and white will be there, and then after that it's the other colors. And then once you've typed them in, you import that theme file back into Power BI, and then you'd have your own theme and you'd have your color palette. So those standard first, let's say, reports or charts you create should then have those colors.
Just getting an initial file together, and that initial theme file is really just a case of putting a few hex codes into a predefined file, and that file is really, really simple. The ability of what you can do with that theme file is really, really powerful. And in the Microsoft documentation, there is a full definition of all the relevant and allowable JSON tags and attributes that you can use and set. So if you've got somebody in your organization who's a bit of a whiz kid with JSON, you can do all sorts of very clever stuff with this. Generally speaking, you probably only want to use the very simplest elements of the JSON file for your theme, because if you start down that route of trying to theme everything individually, you're not going to end up with something that looks good.
And I think a great way to get colors to blend or to find matching colors is that there's a whole load of websites out there with color palettes where you can have a starting color. You can put that in and it will give you suggestions for adjacent colors. I know it's something that I sometimes struggle with where I've got a customer's logo that's got a color, or it's got two colors, or I've just got a starting point of a color and I want to use more colors in there. So for example, if I want to put a light background into a report to go and help the visualization stand out a little bit, well, what color matches the starting point that I've got? Well, a color palette website, I think, is a great place to go and do that. I'm also very mindful when applying colors to reports and visualizations to be incredibly consistent about how I apply them, and try and agree upfront with the customer to say, okay, well, if I've got tabular data, then I'm going to make the heading this color. Slicers are going to be that color. If I put a KPI in there, I'm going to put it in that color. And I think that's incredibly important for users so they get used to consistent colors across different reports.
Something else that we regularly do is create background images. And the background image, like a wallpaper, is the background. So we create that externally, and that has your logo, your line, your divider lines, etc. You save it. You can save it as an image file, PNG, because when you actually put it into Power BI, it renders it as a PNG. And to get it into Power BI, you start with a blank page. You go into the properties of the page, you locate it as a wallpaper or as a background image, and then it's always there on that page. And that's how you get a corporate identity on every single page of your reports.
We hope you found that useful. If you'd like to contact us, please come on over to clearlycloudy.co.uk for the UK and Europe, or clearlysolutions.net for North America. In the meantime, have a great week, be safe, wear a mask and socially distance. Thanks for listening.